Welcome, collectors, to this installment of Diecast Emporium. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at my entire collection of paving equipment in HO or 1 to 87 scale. So let's not waste any more time. Starting off, we have the Nzg Bomag Bw Pdh-3, typical mouthful of a machine by Bomag. They actually made two versions of this. You will see the second version in just a minute, but I figured we would first start off with the Padfoot or the sheep's foot compactors. You can differentiate those from the smooth drums because they have pad or sheep's foot for the front drum, as you can see here. These Nzg models have a lot of die-cast metal components on them, even in HO scale. And obviously, they made this version with the open ROPS, which looks very, very good. So, that's the first one. Let's go ahead and move on to Norscot. So, this is the Norscot Cat Cp for Compactor Padfoot 563E. This came out in about 2006, so 1 year before the transition to the Power Stripe. So, it has the old style cat graphics on it. And this one also has a working dozer blade on the front, which can be lowered just below grade, as you can see. It also has an enclosed cab and some plastic mirrors on both sides. Alright, so that is the first one. Next up, we have a newer updated Norscot model. This is the Cat CP56. So this came out after the Power Stripe. Basically, it's the same model, obviously just with a little bit of updated graphics on it. But in terms of the overall casting, the two are pretty much identical. So we'll put both of them on the spin table so you can take a look at both of them at the same time. Alright, let's move on now. You've seen the Padfoots. Let's take a look at the smooth drums. And again, if you are not totally familiar with what these particular rollers or compactors are used for, these come in after the graders and scrapers have leveled out the roadbed. These guys smooth out the sand and the gravel and the pebbles in preparation for the pavers to come down and lay down the asphalt or the mat. This is the Norscot Cat CS for Compactor Smooth 563E, so you have a CP and a CS. Once again, that designates the different style drum on the front. This does have the old style cat graphics as well, because this and the CP 563 were released at the same time. And as you may expect, here is the Cat CS56 with the updated cat graphics. Now, on a personal note, I would love to see Diecast Masters either in 2022 or maybe beyond. I would love to see some updated rollers in HO scale, and it just seems to be a segment that's kind of been overlooked. So we got one in 1/50th scale, I think a year or two ago, with the, what was it, the CB13, something around there. So it would be nice to see maybe that tooling in re-released in perhaps HO or 1/87 scale. I believe it would sell very, very well, again, particularly with the train market. Alright, next up. This is a ham by Nzg 3412. I believe they did do a Padfoot variation of this as well. I only have the smooth drum version, but once again, lots of die cast on this. Some awesome tread pattern on the wheels. Very realistic on it. And there's also a 1/50 scale version of this. So that's the Nzg Ham 3412, once again with an enclosed cab. And to close out the single drum compactors, the soil compactors, we end with the Nzg Bomag Bw Pdh-3. That's what we started out the video with. So there you can see both of them at the same time. Smooth drum and the sheep's foot or Padfoot. Alright, so we have our proverbial roadbed nice and smooth and compacted and ready for the pavers. But let's say you have some very small, minor road work that needs to be done. So the base model is a Norscot Cat Minis 272C skid steer. This normally comes with a bucket. This is a HO or 187 scale Shapeways cold planer. I know it's a little bit difficult to see, so I'm hoping that it will zoom in. There you go. I added the cat graphic to it. I put this little steel bar into it, and the reason is it allows the cold planer, just like on a real skid steer attachment, for it to slide left and right, and it just sits in front of the actual skid steer. So it makes a pretty convincing little display. Once again, we'll bring that into frame. There you go. The kit is by the Model Mechanic on Shapeways. You will see a few other models of his in this video, so I'll make sure I point that out every time you see it. They're pretty fun to assemble, and yeah, just Google the Model Mechanic, and he does a variety of different things in multiple different scales. That's what's probably the coolest aspect about his kits, is that everything you see here in HO scale, he offers in 164 or 150th scale as well. All right. Speaking of the Model Mechanic, here's the first ever kit that I did. This is a Superior sweeper or broom. Really something that's been missing in terms of nobody's ever done one of these in 150 scale or 187 scale for that matter. And once again, very easy to throw together. Mine obviously isn't top notch in terms of craftsmanship or fit and finish, but it's good enough for me. I have a red finish for the actual brush. You have the mesh walkway I did in silver, the water tank in white based on some prototype pictures. I highlighted the lights as well, your air cleaner and exhaust, and I will at some point continue detailing the interior and highlight the working light on top. But in the real world, obviously this would follow a cold planer and sweep up the rest of the excess millings that didn't get discharged out of the conveyor and into a dump truck. Okay. Speaking of cold planers, here is my first one. This is a model kit by Keebri, so you have to assemble it, and it is the Wirtgen W2200. This is in the factory Wirtgen color scheme, but they also offer this in green, and I think they might have a few other European OEMs or European construction company colors. At the time, this was actually pretty hard to get. I had to buy it from a European seller. That was about 6 or 7 years ago. Assembling the kit was pretty straightforward. Fit and finish was easy. Decal application was very easy. Pretty sweet model overall. Very limited functionality. Obviously, you saw me move the conveyor belt left or right. You can take the canopy off if you're not a fan of canopies on cold planers. And the tracks as well can be moved slightly. So that is the 2200. You want a much newer and more up-to-date, highly detailed, already assembled cold planer? Well, here you go. I believe I have a review on this. If you take a look at the top of your screen right now, you will see a suggested link to the full-length review of this. This is by Herpa. This is the Wirtgen W250i, which to date is Wirtgen's largest cold planer that they offer. This comes with a, I believe it's a Mercedes-Benz, or it's either a Mercedes-Benz or a Volvo tractor in a European-style lowboy. Once again, you can change the height of the discharge conveyor. You can take the canopy off. I believe the milling drum moves. Yeah, the milling drum moves. And you have a little bit of height adjustability, and the rubber tracks can be positioned and steered if you'd like to pose them steering. I would say in terms of overall functionality, this plastic model is probably the best. I definitely would not say it's the highest detail or looks best in a diorama or display, but it certainly is the most up-to-date, the most current, and probably the most affordable bang for your buck that you can get currently in terms of cold planers in HO scale. Now, turning the corner, if you want the best looking by far, the absolute head turner, here it is. This is the Ccm Cat Pm 465. Again, originally part of the Ccm 12-piece set, released almost 2 decades ago. And what else can you say about it? This brass model is incredible. You want to be very, very careful how you position this, how you pose this. Everything on here, for the most part, is brass, based on a late 90s Caterpillar coal planer or milling machine. Not much else to say about it. If you can afford one, if you can find one, I highly encourage you to pick one up. So that concludes the coal planer segment of the video. Let's transition to the asphalt pavers. First one, this certainly is borderline, quote-unquote, a model, but nevertheless, it's a Siku Volvo Super 1900 tracked paver, and the actual Volvo scheme of, yellow canopy, gray screed, green paver. The sides actually do fold up, but as you can see, they don't like to stay folded up. Has some plastic wheels underneath, obviously, because the tracks don't move. And as I said, it can be argued that this is, in fact, not a model, more towards a TOY, but either way, it is close to HO scale. And if you are just looking for a paver to display on your paving scene, for your paving scene on your layout, easy for me to say, and your funds are somewhat limited, this is a very clear option for you. They're not hard to find. Go on eBay, you can get them. Now, you want the best out there? Well, once again, we look in the dictionary, and up comes CCM. This is the Cat AP 1055B, another brass model, another part of the 12-piece original set. Just amazing. Yes, the sides do fold up on here. The screed is not intended to move, however, with time, it can be made to move very, very slightly. Again, I would encourage you not to do that. Take it out of the box, put it on your paving scene on your railroad layout, or put it behind glass, and do little more with it. All right, that concludes the couple pavers that I have. At this point, again, personal suggestion, I would love to see someone make a rubber-tired paver. I know that Kibri has I think it's a Bomag rubber paver, but it's a kit. It's not all that great. Again, I would love to see Diecast Masters do a modern Cat paver. Maybe a, AP 1000, I don't know, just a suggestion. But I'd love to see something in Diecast made currently. Okay, let's go on to the rollers. These obviously, once again, if you're not familiar, these follow behind the asphalt paver and flatten out and make the road smooth. So first one is a Herpa Ham DV90. This is more of a European style roller. You don't see very many of these here in the States. I have seen some, but not a lot. Mostly a plastic model, but the drums on here are actually metal and make it pretty heavy. But otherwise, it's plastic. Does have some nice mirrors, some exhaust, some accent pieces, which add a lot of detail to it. But for the most part, it's not something that gets a lot of use in displays that I do. This one, however, does. This is another Ham model. This one's by Schuco. It's the HD Plus 110. This roller you see just about everywhere around me. And the cool thing about this is you can do some offset paving with it if you're very careful. Again, it turns. It is a canopy machine. It's not an enclosed cab, which again is very common here in the States and not very common in Europe. And it's die-cast, so pretty hefty model, very impressive. Paint finish is also excellent on it. And once again, it's affordable. Now, I mentioned it's by Schuco. They have this version, which is the double, steel drum version, but they also have a single steel drum and then a rubber-tired version. And there's a few other versions that they make as well, depending on what your model construction application requires. Here is, and I'm going to butcher the name of this company because I believe it's a South American company. Marcuina, something like that. Anyway, it's a Volvo DD90HF roller. And this company actually produces some pretty sweet HO models. They may not be the highest detailed, but they produce some models that nobody else makes. For example, this Volvo roller. They also do a telehandler, a grader. I encourage you to look them up because they do some pretty interesting stuff, and it's usually pretty reasonably priced. Oftentimes, the most expensive part of their models is the shipping cost, because I don't think there's a distributor here in the United States, at least to my knowledge, that stocks these models. And I know for this one, I had to obviously pay an outrageous shipping cost to get it here to the States. But mostly metal. There's some plastic on here. The drums are metal. And once again, you do see these type of rollers around me very frequently. All right. Once again, you want the best? Well, you know where I'm going with this. Here is the Ccm Cb 634C. Once again, a late 90s, mid-90s style cat roller, made entirely of brass. The detail is unbelievable on here. Mine is number 260, for those that may want to know. You can see the lines across the articulation point. That's the roller you want to get. Ideally, if you can get the roller, the cold planer, and the paver by CCM, that's obviously going to cost you a pretty penny. But just acquiring those three models, for all intents and purposes, your paving fleet and HO scale is set. And to conclude, the asphalt machines. Here's another Model Mechanics Shapeways kit that I finished up earlier this year during lockdown. It is the Shapeways Cat CW34 pneumatic tire roller. Really love the way this came out. There's some irregularities on here. There's some things that aren't quite perfect. But I love the way the decals turned out and the way the paint finish turned out on here. So pneumatic tire rollers, once again, for those that are getting an education, they often follow the steel drum rollers just to put a finish layer on it. And a lot of times you will actually see tarps covering the wheels, so I might do that. I might actually add some tarps around the wheels. I haven't really decided, but I kind of like the way it looks now. All right, so I told you there might be a surprise at the end of this video, and for the first time debuting on camera, at least, here is the big Shapeways kit. And this is also by the Model Mechanic. I just recently finished this up, and I use the term finished very loosely because I'm going to do a lot more with this. This is the Gomako GP3 concrete paver. And I've added a few things like a water tank, another tank up on here. I don't know if you can see this on camera, but there's a control panel I've added, the decals and stuff I made. I'm always adding more decals to it. Gomako up here, you have your engine thing here. As it rotates around, you'll see GP3. There's GP3 on each of the legs. I might do all of the handrails if I get really, really bored one Saturday afternoon. I might paint all those either silver or black just to kind of give some density to the model and bring out the Gomako yellow. In terms of the actual screed, again, I might do something different with the auger up here. Obviously, the platform back here I've already done in gray. But this looks best, obviously, in a highway paving scene, or it looks just as impressive on a lowboy, on a large lowboy traveling down the road. So there you go, collectors. That is my entire collection of 187 or HO scale paving equipment. I know I should have done this video like 3 weeks ago, but, you know, holidays and everything. So I appreciate your patience. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below, and let me know which of these models you have in your collection, or if there's a model here that you know that's out there that I don't have that you might want to suggest to me, by all means, please leave that down in the comment section below as well. Take care, be safe. I'm Tommy with Diecast Emporium. I'll see you in the next review.